Hi, thanks for stopping by. My name is Chizoba and I have a wedding to attend today, so here's how I get glammed up. I decided to go for a softer makeup style. It's actually full glam but blended in a way that keeps it subtle, enhances my glow and still doesn't look cakey. As I get ready, I wanted to share something God used to encourage me recently. I was listening to Pastor Steven Furtick's sermon, You Can Change the End, based on Exodus chapter 14 and Romans chapter 8 verse 31. And one question from the sermon that really stayed with me was this: what response will you give when the results are not in your control? The more I thought about that question, the more I realized how much of life is spent trying to control outcomes. We want certainty, we want answers, we want things to go according to plan, but life doesn't always work that way, does it? Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we don't know what comes next, and that is exactly where the Israelites found themselves in Exodus chapter 14. Standing in front of the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind them, they had no control over the outcome. They couldn't even split the sea, they couldn't create an escape route. They couldn't change their circumstances. All they could do was trust God, and that's where the message challenged me. Because if I'm honest, I like knowing what's next. I mean, who doesn't? I like having a plan. I like feeling prepared. But faith doesn't require complete information. Faith requires trust. The Israelites didn't know how God was going to make a way through the sea. They just knew they needed one. And I think many of us are in seasons where we need a way forward, but we don't know how God is going to provide it. Maybe you're waiting on an answer to prayer. Maybe you're facing a decision you're afraid of getting it wrong. Maybe you're in a season of uncertainty that has lasted longer than you expected. Whatever it looks like, the temptation is often the same: to focus on what we can't control. But this message reminded me that our responsibility is not to control the outcome. Our responsibility is to trust God while we wait for it. The outcome belongs to God and the response belongs to us. That's why Romans chapter 8 verse 31 is so powerful. If God is for us, who can be against us? Not because we never face challenges, not because we will never experience disappointment, not because everything will always happen the way we want, but because no situation we face is greater than the God who is with us. That verse reminds me that I'm not navigating life alone. God is with me, God is for me, and God is working even when I can't see it. And sometimes that's all the reassurance we need, not an explanation, not a timeline, just the reminder that God is present. One thing I've learned in this season of waiting is that worship becomes incredibly important. When I don't know what else to do, I worship. Not because worship instantly changes my circumstances. Sometimes the waiting remains, sometimes the questions remains, sometimes the uncertainty remains, but worship changes my perspective. It lifts my eyes from the problem and back onto God. It reminds me of God's faithfulness. It reminds me of His power. It reminds me that the same God who brought me through the previous season is still with me in this one. And often, that's just what I need the most. No immediate answers, but renewed trust. So if you're in a season where the outcome feels uncertain, I want to encourage you with the same reminder God used to encourage me. You don't have to control the outcome. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to know exactly how everything will work out. You simply have to trust the one who does. The outcome belongs to God and the response belongs to us. Oh, by the way, I was actually rushing because I thought you simply have to trust the one who does. The outcome belongs to God and the response belongs to us. Oh, by the way, I was actually rushing because I thought I was already late for the wedding. But when I got there, they were just starting and I really had such a beautiful time celebrating with the couple. I'm glad I didn't miss it. Anyway, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the video. I'll also drop the link to the full sermon in the description in case you want to watch it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of the makeup look was and what kind of video you would love to see next. Thank you so much for staying with me as always. I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.